What's up, I love it. Welcome to week 3 of the Holistic 50 Challenge. Coach Chappie coming at you guys with your nutrition nibble for this week. We are talking about alcohol. Specifically for this week, to get your points for your nutrition nibble, we are looking to consume no alcohol for the whole week. Okay, for some of us, this will be an easy point. For some of you, it might be a challenge, and that's the whole point of this. We're going to look at 4 main categories today. We're going to talk about cellular health, fitness and recovery, weight loss, and then chronically elevated cortisol. Before we get into the details of each of those categories, just want to touch on when we're talking about the consumption of alcohol. We are talking about any consumption of alcohol. So your nightly glass of wine, all the way up to a wild night out where you'd have 8 or 9 drinks. That is all included in this. There's no scenario where you consume alcohol and it doesn't affect your body. So we're going to start off by talking about cellular health. So when we consume alcohol, we see an increase in oxidative stress in our body. Okay, oxidative meaning oxygen. Oxygen is in your blood. Your blood is all throughout your body. It carries it around. When we see an increase in oxidative stress, we see that there's this increase in free radicals in our blood, which are unstable molecules. This comes from our body releasing acetaldehyde, which is a chemical compound that's created when we consume alcohol. When you have an increased amount of these free radicals or these unstable molecules in your body, it leads to the damage of your cell membrane. It also leads to cellular aging and increase in disease risk. So cellular aging, like you hear of people that are 65, but their biological age is 45. This is exactly what we're talking about. There are some people who are 35 whose biological age is 65. So that's what we're talking about when we look on a cellular level of cellular aging. We also see a reduction in energy production, that rhymes, on a cellular level, specifically in your mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of your cell. And if your cells aren't producing energy, you will not be producing energy. We also see that our body has a hard time to repair cells once they're damaged and then regenerate new ones. Consuming alcohol also triggers low-grade inflammation. If you consume alcohol regularly, this can turn into a chronic level of inflammation, which is not great. And again, just want to reiterate that small to moderate amounts over time can reduce how efficiently cells repair themselves and respond to exercise and stress. Which leads us into our next category. So the second thing we're going to talk about is consuming alcohol in regards to fitness and recovery. So like I just said before, small to moderate amounts over time can reduce how efficiently your cells repair themselves and respond to exercise and stress. Because that's how we get fitter, is based upon how our body responds to the stress of exercise. So consuming alcohol impairs your muscle protein synthesis. Muscle protein synthesis is your body's ability to rebuild and grow your muscles. Because when we work out, we break down our muscles, so we have to rebuild those. When we look at muscle protein synthesis, even a moderate post-exercise drinking can blunt your muscle repair for up to 20 to 40%. So maybe hold off on those post-WOD beers regularly. Once in a while is okay, but not regularly. We also want to look at hydration. Alcohol is a diuretic, which promotes fluid loss, which can lead to dehydration, and that worsens your performance and it slows your recovery. It can also lead to electrolyte imbalances, which doesn't help anything in regards to recovery and performance. Alcohol also disrupts your sleep, which is really important to building fitness. It specifically disrupts your deep and your REM sleep cycles, which are critical for recovery, memory, and hormone balance. Hormones that are really important when we look at fitness and recovery are testosterone and cortisol. When you consume alcohol, we're disrupting both of these. Okay, so we see a lowering in the amount of testosterone that there is in our body, which leads to a reduction in muscle growth. We then see an increase in cortisol, which is a stress hormone that promotes fat storage and muscle breakdown. So the whole goal of exercising is to build fitness, is to build muscle, and then reduce stress. So by consuming alcohol, we are flipping those by lowering our body's ability to build muscle and increasing our stress. The third category we're going to look at is weight loss, right? Maybe some of us are doing this holistic challenge with a little bit of a weight loss goal in mind. Maybe that's why you started CrossFit, and since then you found out many more reasons to continue on. But at some point, maybe we've thought about weight loss, and there's probably been the talk about alcohol during that. So when we look at just the general baseline of weight loss, you want to take in less than you are burning, okay? That is how you lose weight. When we look at alcohol, alcohol is considered empty calories, okay? On a numerical value, they hold 7 kilocalories per gram, which is almost as dense as fats, which are 9 kilocalories per gram. But alcohol has no nutritional value to it. So when we consume carbohydrates, those give us energy. When we consume fats, they aid in repairing of our cells and our hormones. When we consume protein, that aids in our DNA, in muscle building, in our brain function, lots of things to do with our organ function. When we consume alcohol, there's no benefit to it. There's only disruptions to systems in our body. So again, no nutritional value. So when we're consuming alcohol, your body is going to prioritize metabolizing the alcohol before it gets to the carbs, protein, and fat. So your carbs and your fat specifically have a higher chance of going to a storage form of triglycerides or glycogen, which are harder to get out of storage than they are when they are just freely in your system. Just calorically looking at alcohol, just a few drinks can easily add a quick 300 to 600 calories to your day. We also see that alcohol suppresses your fat metabolism for up to 72 hours after consumption. It disrupts your blood sugar control, which leads to an increase in cravings, specifically for sweet and salty foods. I'm sure many of us have enjoyed one too many beers and afterwards thought that pizza and ice cream sounded like the best thing in the world. So again, if we go back to thinking about how these are empty calories, we have those beers, then the pizza, then the ice cream. My body is going to work on metabolizing all of the alcohol before it gets to that pizza and the ice cream. And by that time, that pizza and the ice cream has probably turned into storage forms of glycogen and triglycerides, which are going to be harder for my body to burn now. There's Freddie! Hey. We also see that alcohol creates poor sleep. Okay, like I said before, it disrupts your deep and your REM sleep. Sleep is really important to weight loss. Your body has to be able to recover in order to lose weight. And finally, the fourth section that we're going to talk about is cortisol, specifically a chronically elevated amount of cortisol. Raised cortisol levels come from a plethora of different things in our life. Lack of sleep, high levels of stress, whether that's from life, work, personal relationships, stuff like that. Just the fact that we spend a lot of our time inside now looking at screens increases our cortisol. And then also consumption of alcohol is one of those things. We need cortisol on a base level for survival. It helps us move into action, okay? In most basic terms, it's kind of like our fight or flight response. So like if there's a tiger chasing you, cortisol is going to rush into your body and push you into action to run away from the tiger. All right? What our body doesn't understand is that responding to an email that we don't want to respond to is not running from a tiger. So we get that rush of cortisol and it's just about the same. Okay, so we need cortisol for positive things. When we look at cortisol in regards to exercise, we see a natural rise during exercise, followed by a subsequent decrease in it that goes back to our baseline. Okay, we have to have that cortisol in order to mobilize stored energy so our muscles can perform. When cortisol stays high, we see a reduction in that muscle protein synthesis. So let's say, for example, here's your baseline of your cortisol. You have a stressful meeting, boop, a little blip. You have a workout of the day, and then it falls back down. But we're always returning to baseline. Now, if we have cortisol that starts to creep up, we have a stressful meeting, comes back down. Stressful workout, comes back down. But then we're slowly just creeping up on our cortisol levels and we're never actually coming back down. That's when problems arise, okay? We see the increase in muscle breakdown. Your body will choose to eat away at your muscles for energy if it can't get to something else quicker. It also lowers testosterone and growth hormone, and it leads to more fatigue and longer recovery times. Like I said at the beginning, there is no scenario in which you consume alcohol and there's no effect on your body. Okay, your nightly glass of wine is going to have some effect on your body. If you have more alcohol, it's going to have more of an effect. Okay, so it's all on a scale, but over time, these effects start to compound very quickly. So if you are a regular consumer of alcohol, that compounding of these effects can happen pretty quickly. If you are somebody that consumes alcohol, maybe you have 1 or 2 drinks every 6 to 8 weeks, you're still going to see these effects on your body, but they're not going to chronically compound over time. To kind of wrap all this up, I put this here at the bottom of you can be training hard and getting nowhere if your cortisol remains chronically elevated. There's a lot of different things we can do to lower our cortisol: proper sleep, proper hydration, proper nutrition, sufficient exercise, not overtraining, getting outside regularly, connecting with people. Just going to the gym hits quite a few of these. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going throughout week 3 of the Holistic Challenge. Okay, it's only 7 days with no alcohol. See how much better you can feel without it, and then maybe we can extend that longer. Have a great week. I love it. Thank you.